New tonight, federal authorities arrested a Chesapeake doctor they say performed unnecessary surgeries on unsuspecting patients.
When was it that you saw the arrest for the first time?
It said Chesapeake doctor arrested.
The OBGYN has 2 offices in Chesapeake.
And I said, oh, I'm just doing my thing. And
the FBI started investigating the doctor in September of 2018 after receiving a tip from a hospital employee.
And then it popped up his building.
Perwaiz is 69
on Churchland Boulevard.
and has practiced as an OBGYN in Hampton Roads for about 40 years.
And my heart just dropped.
I think before you look at what happened in October 2019, you have to go back even further.
The FBI wants to hear from as many patients as possible.
His knowledge that the FBI and DCIS and others were investigating him did not slow him down.
They really wanted to ask him about everything under the sun, but he cut the interview off shortly after it started.
I don't think I should be answering these questions anymore.
And then we cobbled together an initial indictment.
We have new information in the case against a Chesapeake doctor accused of fraud. He now faces new charges.
I turn the TV on and there his face is right there.
A judge will decide if Javed Perwaiz can be released from jail until his trial.
Knowing that he was sitting in a jail cell.
And I was like, wow, finally.
If I'd known, he wouldn't have touched my baby.
We arrested him in order to make him stop performing surgeries.
Jury selection started in the trial of Dr. Javed Perwaiz. He faces more than 60 healthcare fraud charges.
And how do you present all this stuff for the jury to understand? Because we're talking about very complicated issues.
Things would have been different if he hadn't testified, because he got caught on lies.
And so right now, if he rots in jail till hell freezes, it won't be good enough punishment for what he's done to everybody.
A Chesapeake doctor
accused of performing unnecessary surgeries.
Dr. Javed Perwaiz remains locked up tonight
after authorities said he put his patients at risk.
Javed Perwaiz is charged with healthcare fraud.
Perwaiz has been at Tidewater Regional Jail since authorities arrested him November 8th.
I think before you look at what happened in October 2019, you have to go back even further, right? A nurse over at Bon Secours Harborview, which is a surgery center where Dr. Perwaiz often did surgeries, also thought something was wrong with the many surgeries that he was doing. And so she put an anonymous tip into the FBI.
As with any investigation, you're not necessarily overt for a while. You don't want to talk to people in the office or that are working with the subject. So you kind of go around the outskirts and get all the information you have.
The FBI at first didn't want to talk to office staff because they didn't want to tip anyone off that they were investigating Dr. Perwaiz. Now they went and they looked into him for a couple months, and then they started talking to office staff members from inside Dr. Perwaiz's office who were actually getting medical records and sneaking the medical records out of Dr. Perwaiz's office so that the FBI can look at those medical records and start to see what Dr. Perwaiz was doing and see if they had a case there. And obviously, as soon as they started getting their hands on those medical records, they realized very quickly that something was not right.
The insider witnesses that we had, particularly the people that had worked with him for years and years and knew what he was doing, but didn't know necessarily the issues that were going on.
Yeah, that employee at the hospital, the whistleblower, so to speak, started it, but their key witnesses are going to be the office people. Yeah. So it's just some of the things we mentioned.
Well, investigators wanted to ask him about his practice, about what he did inside the practice, about his procedures, about how many patients he had. They really wanted to ask him about everything under the sun, but he cut the interview off shortly after it started.
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any official letter or somebody authorizing all of this? I don't know how it works.
Well, a complaint was made to
Right.
us, and we have to respond to that complaint.
What are these patients?
I can't get into
Well,
it.
then we need to not talk anymore.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Till I have my attorney sitting here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just general questions.
I know they're general questions.
It's oversight
yeah,
over the program and
I
everything.
know that. And I am aware of it. But I need somebody else present here.
I understand, and we respect that, but we're just trying to get to the bottom, resolve an issue that was brought before
Well,
us.
I would like to resign. If there's any complaint, I absolutely want that addressed.
Certainly.
I would fully cooperate, but I don't think I should be answering these questions anymore. I've answered already too many, probably too many, without somebody else who can interject.
Okay, did you want to call a lawyer or an attorney or anything like that? Or?
Obviously, I cannot call, and whatever notice, I'll have to arrange it.
The day after Perwaiz had that conversation with investigators, the FBI raided his Churchland office. They seized not only the diagnostic tools that he used in his office to do procedures, but they took more than 3,000 patient records. When the FBI did raid the office, he was not there at the office. An employee actually called him, and there was a recorded phone call between that employee and Dr. Perwaiz.
Hello? Hey. Yeah. So Ashley just called me, and the FBI is at the office. Oh. In Churchland. With search warrants, I think. Oh, okay. I mean, and you said they seem to concentrate on hysteroscopies for some reason. I don't know, Dr. Boyce. Right. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether they think I'm doing too many unnecessarily or not. I don't know what the issue is.
So the concerning thing for the FBI was that even though they raided his business, even on the next day, Perwaiz was open for business, which means he was diagnosing patients, seeing patients, and even scheduling surgeries at this point.
We went faster than you normally would have in a case like this. They were able to find out different patients who were scheduled for surgeries after the search warrant and contact them and suggest that they might want to get a second opinion. Some of the women said, well, I'm not really sure what kind of surgery I'm having. I just know that he told me I needed another one, and we were very concerned. We attempted to have his license or asked into the possibility of the Virginia Board of Medicine to suspend or temporarily suspend his license while this was underway. And it was our understanding that that was not possible, that it would take months to do that, which we did not feel comfortable having the doctor continue to perform surgeries for a period of months.
Frustrating?
We did not believe it was a good idea. The only way we could stop immediately was with a complaint. And then we cobbled together an initial indictment, just naming a handful of victims.
And that was literally just to make sure the scalpel was no longer in his hand?
Correct, yeah. We arrested him in order to make him stop performing surgeries.
I was in the living room getting ready to have my morning coffee. And I turned the TV on, and there his face is right there.
I went to my mom's house, and my son was there, and as soon as I walked in the door, he said, "Mom, they got him." It was just coming across the news again. He said, "Your old doctor, Perwaiz." He said, "He's on the news. They locked him up." And I was like, wow, finally.
I didn't want to believe it. And I just remembered all the good experiences that I had, so I just said, this can't be true.
I kind of laughed, and then I kind of like, wow, somebody finally dropped the bomb on him.
It was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. Knowing that he was sitting in a jail cell being denied bond. You're not denied bond for no reason. I don't have any kind of sympathy because I'm upset with myself that I was so believing of him, and I'm just heartbroken. It's not who at all he perceived himself to be.
It was a sigh of relief because it finally came out, you know, what he was doing, and he's not going to be able to hurt anyone else anymore.
This trial is going to be lengthy, 5 weeks long, and we're told at least 50 witnesses will take the stand. Most of those will be some of Perwaiz's former patients. It's a lot to go through. You have medical records and you have prosecutors and defense attorneys who are not doctors. How do you present all this stuff for the jury to understand? Because we're talking about very complicated issues.
It was a lot to take in at first because I didn't really know what it was entailing. We had 61 cases that we were hearing, and then like every person that came in to testify, it was kind of like you didn't know what their story was going to be. My name is Edward Compton, and I was a juror on the Perwaiz trial.
Day 2 is now in the books, and today we began hearing the first of what will be many of Dr. Javed Perwaiz's former patients.
That's insane. The amount of surgeries he was doing, I just couldn't believe it. The victims' testimonies, those were always impactful to, I would say, pretty much anybody that heard them. It was a lot of the same things being said and the same things being done, and the pattern was really being put down for us to see, what was going on.
I can tell you for the last 2.5 weeks, Dr. Perwaiz has done nothing but take notes. Notes.
I was shocked. I was in utter shock.
Every time you look at him, he's down taking notes.
My mouth, if you could have seen it past the mask, my jaw dropped.
And today, he decided that he was going to take the stand in his own defense.
I couldn't believe he took the stand. Just couldn't believe it.
Perwaiz spent all day long on that stand.
I think he dug his own grave. You couldn't get a straight answer from Dr. Perwaiz, from the prosecution to the judge to the defense team itself. He would not give a straight answer to any questions, and they were yes or no questions.
The jury now has the case in the trial of a local OBGYN charged with healthcare fraud.
The jury deliberated for about 2 hours before they were sent home for the night. They did stop at one point to ask for highlighters, a dry erase board, and also they wanted to get some sticky notes.
We just started with one case, going down the line. We thankfully had a retired nurse with us who was able to go through the charts and kind of pick out, like, hey, this is the information we need to find, and we were able to look at each case individually. We were there for 3 days deliberating. He had to know that we weren't on the fence towards him being, innocent.
We only bring cases where we expect the end result to be guilty. Especially in this office, we don't bring cases that we don't feel are just and necessary.
There's no question in my mind that he was doing this a lot longer. I really believe that things would have been different if he hadn't testified, because he got caught in lies. And he would have kept doing this. He would still be doing it now. Think about it. If he did 7 surgeries a Saturday, how many people would he have done surgery on, in a year? He was not going to stop. And they said he slowed down after he had a heart attack. So if it's 7 a day is slowing down, that's insane.
The doctor would have more patients for surgeries than other OBGYNs. Actually had a name for the days that Perwaiz worked. They called it a Perwaizathon.
Perwaizathons, like that sticks in your head.
What is this like for you as you're reading and you're seeing all of these things that he's accused of doing?
Right now, if he rots in jail till hell freezes, it won't be good enough punishment for what he's done to everybody. I can't imagine those poor women who wanted to have more babies and can't now. I mean, you can't put a uterus back in. You get untied tubes, you can't put a uterus back in.
Why? What did you get out of it? Was the money really all that important to destroy lives and families? You were a monster. I just don't understand why, what drove you to doing the stuff you did.
He's evil because he was doing this without a second thought. He didn't just do it to 1 or 2 people every now and then. He did it to a lot of people. And I feel like he felt because he could get away with it, he just kept doing it.
I'm not a violent person, but I have to admit that there's been moments where I was really, if I knew he was out of jail, and I would be really tempted to drive up there and if nothing else, punch him in the face. And say you deserve everything you get.